So once I have all that done, then I'm just going to put it up, and it's going to send out to the interweb world, and we're just going to see what happens from there.
So let everybody find us.
Let everybody find us, or nobody, because we're going to see how this goes. See if they want to listen to a couple jackwagons.
Oh, God.
But hey, good morning. Super early morning for some. I've been up since, 4. I got my workout in with a buddy of mine. We're starting 75 hard with him, so I was going to support him. So we did legs today. Not normally what my schedule is, but legs, early morning Monday, after like a big barbecue dinner and stuff with my family yesterday. So, and then we hung out with you guys on Saturday.
Got some dinner in.
Yeah.
Tore my belly up.
Yeah, you've been jacked lately. Like, I don't know what your deal is. You're on this like health kick now, and all of a sudden you just decide
cheated on my diet all weekend.
Can't cheat on her, man. Mm-hmm. Don't cheat on your wife. Don't cheat on your diet.
My belly was so messed up this weekend. It was bad.
Dude, I thought you were gonna die on Saturday.
Oh,
like I've never seen you that bad.
No. I had to walk down the hill behind the shop to throw up a little bit.
That's funny. About to say, I haven't hit that level since I was like a kid going to Golden Corral in the South.
Oh. So what happened was I decided I'm just going to have fun all weekend, and I didn't pay attention to what I was eating or how much I was eating, so I wasn't eating enough. Then you guys come over Saturday night. My wife made this giant taco salad setup.
That was fire.
And I just chowed down.
Yeah, so here we are, like we're all hanging out, and the kids got their portion, all the adults grab like, like a good size like cereal bowl, and we just do this taco salad mix. Well, frickin' Ding Nuts over here decides, I'm just gonna go get a big mixing bowl, and he just...
Big old bowl, like yay big, good 1 foot around.
A Dean Perone size. A Dean Perone size for sure. And if you don't know him, go check Axe and Sledge's stuff. So, yeah, freak man, and you just went at it. Mm. And then like you finished, and the dog cleaned your plate, and then you were just hating life.
Even the next morning I woke up, like, I wasn't I could just feel the knots all night, and so it was hard to sleep. But by the time I woke up, like, it was a little bit like, man, should I eat?
Oh, man. Yeah, do I even want to, like, push the envelope? Yeah.
I took it easy, though. I had me a little banana, and slowed my way into a bagel, and I was good after that.
Yeah, okay. Simple, complex carbs. Toast is good, too. If my belly's ever jacked up, it's like saltine crackers or toast. That's just the boomer thing I learned from my dad. But I was the same way. I just told you, it's, my father-in-law did grilled a bunch of just awesome food yesterday. Brats, hot dogs, some steak, some ribs. He's never done ribs before. I'll tell you what, he nailed it.
Perfect.
Just a lot of fatty meat that I don't normally have. And should have realized my past history with that is come the next morning, I better be near some type of a bathroom situation because I'll be dropping about 3 pounds. But we've been rolling into this. Good morning. This is Kevin. I'm Marcel. This is episode 1 of our attempt at a podcast, and it's called Vets and Barbells, or Veterans and Barbells, whatever you want to call it, whatever we'll put up on the podcast YouTube world. And this is kind of something we've been talking about for a long time, just kind of getting together. We got a big inspiration from really just all the other people out there in the podcast world that are just keeping it real and just kind of putting out more positivity and more just information for people. And I feel like the podcast world's kind of like the new radio. I bet you and I both grew up on car radio, AM, FM stations. I worked down in Texas when I was a kid for a while, and me and the guy I apprenticed under, we'd always listen to like punk rock during the week. That was kind of his era. But like come Saturday mornings when we were working on projects, it was NPR and the Car Talk guys, and just hearing what else is going on, and it was just fun. And my mom dropping us off for school, we'd also listen to like whatever good morning radio was out there with the tunes, and it was just a good time. And so we're super excited. We were like super nervous going into this, but we're just going to record, and we're going to see what happens, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. These first couple episodes will kind of be more of a get to know me and Kevin here. We're probably going to be the main host and co-host on this. We're out of my gym in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is Phoenix Fitness and Athletics. Veteran owned and operated, really just trying to serve the community, offer 24 hours access, personal training, group classes, online remote training, which actually Kevin's a current client of mine right now.
Yep, getting ready for competition and just under a month now.
Yeah, that's right. You're coming. You're almost in the home stretch, man.
Yeah, pretty ready for it. I mean, I've already made huge strides since the beginning.
Oh yeah, like I think Kevin's biggest struggle when I started talking to him is, he's always been into fitness. You can see, like, for a taller dude, he's got good mass on him. He's got good size. But after talking, I realized that there was never really a set plan that you had kind of followed.
No real regimen. I just go to the gym and whatever I felt like working out that day, I'd work out.
Yeah.
I'd finish one exercise. Where do I want to move next?
Yeah. Which is fine for some. Sometimes you got to go in that lift. But if you're really trying to meet a goal and exceed a plan, then you're gonna have to follow a plan. So it's been good to work with him, and again, his numbers have gone through the roof. I'm really excited where we go with this last month. Again, I don't want to peak you too fast, and then then you come to the competition and you're not able to push it. So we're gonna have to play that by ear, and you're just gonna have to tell me day to day or week to week, kind of like how you're feeling and stuff. And this is what I do with other remote clients too. Is I try my best to do a check-in every week, or at least if I have a thought about them in a day, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Like, I haven't gotten a video of your lifts in a while. Can you send me something? I actually had a guy send me his deadlift yesterday, and it was pretty good. Just needs to keep his elbows tight, lock his lats back as he's setting up, and then he's good because the bar is kind of drifting away from him as he pulls before it comes back. I just don't want to see him hurt his back. But back to the podcast. So yeah, we're gonna get to know each other, our little backgrounds. We really hope not to make these podcasts overly long, unless Kevin and I get on a rant somehow. And we're gonna do our best to stay away from hot topics. But if hot topics come up, they're probably gonna get slammed. Kevin and I are pretty, I'd say, tactful overall on how we say certain things. But there's other things that we are opinionated on, and that's the thing. It's our opinion. You don't have to like it. You don't like the podcast. Thousands more on there. So I've kind of dominated so far. Kevin, how about you kind of talk about yourself real quick? We're also both family guys. We both have wives. We've each actually got 2 kids. He's got a boy and a girl. I've got 2 girls. And the funny part is, and I think the reason we hit it off so fast, is our kids are
exactly the same.
Exactly the same. In fact, almost like darn near the same age.
Yeah, they're within months of each other.
Yeah, and
exact same attitudes.
His oldest boy is a lot like my oldest girl, Hanley. He's got McCoy, and then I've got Hanley, and then our youngest, our 2-year-olds, Maggie, and then Hunter. Wild kids. Like if they end up going to the same school, we're definitely have to do the parent-teacher conference together and just sit the teacher down and be like,
because they will be getting in trouble.
Yeah, hey, we're sorry. They're great kids. We're sorry. So
it's not our fault.
It's not our fault. They're just they're unique.
It's always the mom's fault. No, I'm just joking.
No,
we're taking that back.
Lexi, Amanda, nope. But kind of tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what you've done, and kind of what led you. Because this is more of a veteran geared podcast, we'll do a bit of ourselves, and then we'll eventually bring on guest speakers or veterans in the area. And they won't always have to be veterans, but we're going to try to keep this focus on those that have really silently sacrificed the most. There's a lot of voices in the world right now. Some are trying to do good. Some are just putting an opinion out there, and that's fine. This country entitles you to having your opinion and having that protected. But I also feel like there's a silent voice out there that's not being talked about enough. And so that's what we're going to try to do for this community, whether it's locals or, again, bringing people on through a Zoom or something. Because there's a lot that people have done and sacrificed for, men and women, that I believe need to be talked about, as well as fitness. There's a lot of misinformation, and I feel like there's things that just between our experiences too, being in the fitness industry, that we can talk about. So, kind of you take the reins and talk about yourself. Tell us about you, and even what led you to go into. So we have an Army pug face dog here, and then I've been in the Marine Corps for going on 7. This is my 7th year now. So both kind of more in the warfighting branches, but both have had different experiences with MOSs. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, and then we'll probably end that podcast here, or if we see it needs to bleed into 2 episodes, we're going to do 2 episodes. So, take it away, Kevin.
No, like you said, my name's Kevin. I'm from right here in old Jefferson City, Missouri. Born, raised, went to high school here and everything. Like you said, I was in the Army, 08 to 12, did 4 years. Best and worst 4 years ever. There's things about I miss every day, and there's things about every day stuff from it that I'm like, good God, thank you, I'm not there anymore.
Yeah, trust me, you wouldn't want to be in right now.
You know,
yes.
You got those days where you're just like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But, while I was in, I met some great people, still keep in touch with them to this day. I got a great friend, Chris. I'm sure you're going to be listening to this at least for the first time until you realize you don't like this, but no.
That'd be a lot of people.
Him and I try to talk at least once a week. I actually just finally reached back out the other day through Facebook, even though I dislike Facebook, but I found one of my old friends from Texas. I realized I haven't even heard from or talked to in a decade, so that was pretty nice to hear back from her. And so, yeah, while I was in the service, I was a mechanic, 63 Bravo. I think they changed the MOS numbers by now, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Every Army person I meet, I'm like, oh yeah, what's your MOS? And they just throw like a number at me, and I'm like, bro, just tell me what it is. Like, you meet another Marine, and it's just like, hey, what are you? Oh man, I'm infantry, I'm 03, or I'm infantry, or like, oh, I'm company. They'll just tell you what it is, and literally every time I've met a soldier, hey, what's your MOS? Oh, I'm da 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 da. I'm like, bro, I don't carry a catalog around. Like, I don't know what it is. So what'd you do as a mechanic? What'd you work on a lot, especially when you deployed? Because how many times have you deployed, or did you
just one deployment?
Just one deployment.
Yeah,
okay.
we that was like the hype, I guess, if you want to call it, of the like MRAPs and stuff.
Okay.
So
with the V hole, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 2 main ones we worked on was the MRAP itself, made by, I think it was International. It was like, had the real thin, like, pop-up side panels and stuff. And,
okay.
The other one was the RG33s and the 33 pluses, which would look like a giant school bus with armor on it.
Must be nice to have all that budget from the Army. Must be real nice.
That was my favorite vehicle, not just to work on, but to be in and be out on the wire.
Why was that? What made it so fun?
I honestly liked the size of it. It just, you felt so safe in it, even though it was a massive target.
Yeah.
And yeah, really, the upgrades in it, granted this is 12 years ago, but the upgrades in it was freaking awesome. The seats inside were great, even though I was a gunner on top, but I just liked that truck. It seemed like that had less issues mechanical wise than the other ones had. Really the only issue with that truck was the doors were like 1,500 pounds a pop.
Jeez.
So they had a electronic hydraulic system that opened it up and closed it, and ran off of one giant, like, 1,500 amp fuse that always blew.
Really?
Yeah.
Probably just too much going through it, maybe, you think?
And of course that fuse is like my entire arm length inside the dash between wires and crap.
Oh, so you got,
it was a pain. No, you fix it.
Yeah.
But it was a pain in the butt. So anyways, so I was stationed at Fort Drum. I went to basic training in Relaxing Jackson, as everyone likes to say, but you know what? It was freaking hot, humid, I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to Fort Drum, so I did my 4 years. I did do a deployment to Iraq. When I got back from that, not too long after, I met my now wife, and she was going to Buffalo University in New York. We met, and I knew that was something there. So when I got out of the service, I knew that long distance relationships are the biggest pain in the ass, and I didn't want to do that kind of stuff anymore. So I decided, first thing I did was move down to Buffalo and moved in with her, and well, there's history there.
There, geez, 2 kids
She
later.
she graduated from Buffalo University, got her law degree.
So she's definitely the brains.
Oh, she's definitely a brains.
For sure.
Yeah. And we came back to Missouri because of my little brother. He was born, right before I turned 15. Yeah. So I was not there for his younger life, and so I wanted to come back and try to be there for my brother, and try to grow that relationship that really wasn't there. Like when I talked to my brother, came home to visit, it was my mom and dad, not mom and dad.
Yeah.
Because he didn't see it that way.
Is it just you and him?
Yeah, it's just
us.
us.
Okay. For some reason, I thought there was like a third sibling or something.
So,
and hey, when they come, I guess.
But so that was the main reason why we moved back here. It's been a great go for us. I went to school at ITT Tech. Nothing fancy, but hey, I got a degree.
Yeah, you got it. Right, check the box.
So
that was also our generation too. Like you're not that much older than I am, but like growing up in the 90s era, it wasn't like I had never heard of trade schools, and that's like I grew up more on the East Coast, but still, it's not saying there's not trades out there, of course. But like college was just pushed so hard in the night, like go to college, and it wasn't so much like go to college, get a specific degree. It was just go to college, check the box. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's just where the era was, and you got yours, but now you're like, what did you get your degree in from ITT?
So I got associates in drafting, computer drafting, and I got a bachelor's in project management.
Okay, so that did help you with like what you've been
with
doing.
what I've been doing. Yeah. Which right now I'm a survey drafter, and I've done in the years I've been working in the actual real world. I've been everything from structural drafter to civil drafter to survey drafting. I've gone out in the field and done survey work. And thank you, Chris. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris one more time.
Another devil dog.
Oh, there we go. That's why it makes it work.
So what wanted me to go into the service was. I didn't want to rely on my parents to pay for my college, to push me through college. So that was, the college money there, that was one thing, of course. But also, growing up, I always was very, proud of my country and proud of who I was. And so that also was almost a given.
Which is something like growing up on the East Coast, initially starting my service over there, and then moving my family west. And I've lived in Texas and I've lived in southern Arizona for a time. And something that's like more out west is that more openness of patriotism and just loving America, for what it purely stands for. East Coast, like there's still patriotism over there. There's still like very red-blooded Americans, but it's just something that like, people find out I serve out here, and it's very more open about like, hey, thank you for your service, and I'm like, I haven't really done much, bub. But at the same time, they recognize that even if it hasn't been much, and they don't know everything I've been through, they're still like, hey, you're doing what others haven't done. Mm-hmm. Whereas like when I lived on the East Coast, it was very much like, you definitely don't get that as much. Like people are just not as either aware, or they feel like being open and patriotic is almost like they have to worry about who's hearing what. And
they worry about stepping on something.
Yeah, they almost worry too much about it. And this is like I'm not saying this is Northeast Coast, because Northeasterners, anyone above like Boston is going to tell you how they feel about you, and that's kind of more where I resonate. I didn't live up there, but being from Virginia, it's very much like what I used to call it it's the South of the North. Virginia is very much like, if you look at a map, it's very much like that middle ground between like what's above and what's below. Mm-hmm. So we're very much like that middle state that can swing pretty much either way, depending on where you live. So anyway, sorry.
Oh no.
Like I said, I can dominate sometimes. I apologize. So anyway, here.
But yeah, I would definitely say like, if I was older when 9/11 happened, that next day I would have been in the recruiter's office signing papers.
Oh jeez.
I guarantee I would, because that that even, almost a decade later, when I went over there, like that was still in the back of my mind the whole time.
Yeah.
I was in 6th grade when it happened,
Yeah.
and I still, even to now, like I still can remember like it was yesterday.
It's raw.
And so
it's very raw. Like I'm getting goosebumps remembering it because I grew up in Northern Virginia when all that happened, and the Pentagon was, if traffic was good, that was a 10-minute drive, passing it to get into DC to do whatever you wanted, and yeah, it's like, it blows my mind that there's kids now that they were born at that time or they're growing up and
they
now
don't even know anything about it.
They know it from history books and people talking about it, but if you're listening and you're alive during that time, I'm trying to like fight some stuff right now, but especially growing up so close to it. I mean, and it should have hit every American very home, and I think it did. But I think on top of like living as close to it as I did, like seeing the aftermath and directly seeing the monuments being built and being able to walk the Pentagon grounds and seeing all the plaques and it's very raw, and it's one thing for me that made an impact, but I didn't make my choice to serve until a little later on. But you're right, if I had been older at that time, because I was also in like 5th or 6th grade, yeah, we would have been there probably like right at the recruiter's office in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
Dude.
I mean, I remember here when that happened. After that, American flag sales. I mean, if you had stock in it at that time, you were making some money, because every vehicle around here had the one hanging from the window, the little one hanging up from the window flying. And if you didn't have one, people were looking at you like, "What's wrong with this dude? Like, come on."
And this is kind of what gets me is you can look at any society in history or any culture, and they go through these cycles. What some people around the world will call like a pride cycle. We get really privileged and really like wealthy and resourceful, and we almost get a little complacent. And then it takes some type of a hardship or a punch in the nose to realize like, hey, we got to button up again, or we need to come together. And it's super saddening that it takes an event like 9/11, the initial hit of COVID-19. We're not going to dive into that one, but when everything first came out, and then same thing with 9/11 is for a period of time we were pretty unified. We were pretty like all together, all for it. Like, yo, we just got punched in the nose, and we're bleeding hard, but we're coming back. We're going to hit hard. This is not going to be taken lightly, kind of thing. And depending on where you fall on the spectrum of how the war carried on, afterwards, the thing is, and that is what it is. But always in time, more light and details will come out. But like that was very raw for a lot of people, and it's one that even today, like, it's probably still the biggest motivator of why I serve. Like that happened, and I want to be a part of the team that takes that fight back to just bad guys. It doesn't have to be over in the Middle East. Doesn't have to be any specific region. But like, look, if you're going to harm others, if you're going to harm innocents, I want to be there to punch you back, to take you out. That's why with this rise, and I've been aware of the whole pedophilia thing and the child human trafficking. I've always been aware that it's around. I've always tried to keep a hand in what's being done with that. But now of all times, now that 2020, that people want to take notice and people want to really start doing something about it. Now of all times, which is fine. It's like, guys, this has been going on for a long time. Since pretty much the dawn of time, things like this have been happening, and maybe I wouldn't be the best candidate for it, because I believe there is no rehabilitation for a person like that or individuals, and the best thing you can do is they're no good for society on any level, other than maybe to be used to find the other guys. They just need to be kneel down and put a bullet in the back of their head.
Yep.
And that's just there's no changing my opinion, or probably his, on that one.
No.
Especially since we have families and we have kids of our own. You come at my family, you come at my kids, or you even try to breach that subject. Guess what, bub? It's not going to be a good day for you, at all. So, but yeah. So sorry again, kind of interjected, but so 9/11 being raw for you, and
yeah, that was definitely that. And then today, even to today, that's still a motivation to my patriotism, I guess if you want to say. I mean, shoot, I've got my entire left forearm is an American flag to show off my patriotism, you know?
Yeah.
As an America, not for the New England Patriots, go Chiefs.
Hey, I'm becoming a Chiefs fan too, you know. I'm more of a Redskins fan. Well, I don't even know if that name's been changed to Red
No,
Tails.
it's officially the Washington football team.
Oh, so they're like an interim, like they don't really know what to call themselves. Yeah. Okay. Well, as before, what we're at right now, I've been a Redskins fan, and you know, every year's a rebuilding year. You know, it's just.
I mean, I've been Chiefs fan since I was little. When people are like, "Wait, who's the Chiefs?"
Yeah. Don't even, man. We got Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun to watch them the last. I actually have watched them the last 3 years and kind of seen that. It's been incredible to watch. I mean, not like a huge Cinderella story, but still like. It's been awesome. So yeah, I'm definitely a Chiefs fan. Now I'll watch them. You know, I'll still root for my Skins. You know, I'm like, you go guys. We had RG3 and you broke them early and kind of broke our heart. That and we had Pat White and all of them. So or no, that was WB. But cool, man. Anything else you want to share about it before I jump on and give
you
my
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So Marcel Blake, I run this gym. Again, we've already gone over the different things with that. So kind of what got me in it is high school. Just kind of did my own thing, man. I didn't really like high school. It was boring. Had a bunch of buddies that joined either like the Army Reserves or National Guard or something. They got one of those waivers, so they got to join early, and they're like, "Yeah, man, you should totally do it. Like, money's good. It's good training." And what's weird is my family, especially on my mom's side, they'd all served. Especially my grandfather. He's no longer alive. He passed away in, I think, 2000. I think right before 9/11. He had an extremely distinguished career as a Navy officer. He'd been a fighter pilot, and we actually have his old like flight suit and his helmet and stuff. And then he got to be a captain of a destroyer, and then he was on track to be like an admiral. But they were like, what he wanted his own aircraft carrier. His own kind of fleet section, and to do that they're like, well, you got to serve some time in the Pentagon. And he was like, okay, fine, if this is part of the steps. Well, then they didn't want him, you know, once he had done his time, and he was like, hey, like, where's my ship? They're like, oh, you're too valuable, like, we need you here. And he was like, he hated, you know, even back then, you know, he hated the political games, the bureaucracy of the Pentagon life.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying everyone there is like that, but at the time with what he was trying to do and where he was involved, he just didn't like it. And then I know at some point it's documented too that he was Admiral Nimitz's aide at one point, and that was one of the lead commanders in the Pacific with MacArthur during World War II. You know, so at some point in his career, he'd served as his aide, which is awesome. So my grandfather had a very illustrious career, worked very hard for his men, and then both my uncles, his sons, they also served in the Navy. I only think one of them was an officer, and he was more of a quartermaster and stuff, but he was also like a weapons expert. I can't remember. Stephen, I'm sorry if I messed that one up. So, and then Robert served as more of a tech guy, and then they've both gone on to really successful civilian careers. So my mom's side was very openly patriotic, but me growing up, I didn't I loved America, but it never really hit home that I wanted to serve. And post high school, you always get those calls from recruiters like, "Hey, love to talk to you." I'm like, "Dude, just not my thing, not my thing, not my thing." But I was always into fitness, and I loved shooting firearms. Through the Boy Scouts, so I learned a lot of weapons safety growing up. My dad is not a firearms person. I mean, he's not anti-gun.
Yeah,
but it's just not his thing. And that's another thing with the 2A argument. We have to realize that some people are into them. Some people are not, and some people are on the fence, and that just takes education and proper talking to about it. But some people just aren't, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's
my side of the family. My dad loves his guns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how
he
called us up just last night. He's like, "Hey, you guys want to go shooting tomorrow?"
Yeah.
I really want to go shooting. I'm like, I'm game.
Let's
do it. But then when you switch over to my wife's side, they're not firearm fans. When my wife's grandfather passed away, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, no one even knew that he still had this old bolt action 22.
Oh, so cool.
And so they were going through the house, and so they're all
those old bolt action 22s are awesome. They're so smooth.
And everyone was trying to figure out what they're going to do with it, and so ending up, they decided to give it to me and Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
because they knew with my background that one, it would get used, it's not going to get sold off, and two, it's going to be well taken care of.
Yeah.
And
Well,
since
cool.
we've had it, I mean, I've had every single member of their family, when they come to visit, I make sure they shoot it because, you know, they get that background, kind of like bringing their grandfather back.
Yeah,
a little
it
bit.
keeps them attached to history. Yeah,
But-
even if they, yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, and that's the best thing you can do too. You know, you're never gonna, you know, win, you know, anyone over by an argument, but you know, just to, you know, exposure, especially like with our backgrounds, like there's probably no one better to teach weapons safety and weapons manipulation than those that have served, if you did take it seriously, because you know, I bet you we can both think of people that serve that should probably never touch a firearm,
should have
ever,
never.
you know, should have never even been allowed. But yeah, so that was me growing up in high school. Went to college, pretty much got into the only school farthest. What my mentality behind it was like, what's the farthest school away from home that I can literally get accepted to? And it was Utah State out of Logan, Utah, which is like super north in the mountains, like pretty much southern Idaho, you know, and it's very much a very small university. I shouldn't say small, but it's a university town. It's pretty much a town built around it. It's a lot going on for it though. Just one main strip, and there's just a ton of shops and restaurants, so it was really nice. It was a pretty good school. It's also a very big engineering school. Like if you wanted to go there and be like any type of an engineer, like we had a lot of foreign exchange students come there, like very prestigious program. I didn't know that. So I originally went to school, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be an engineer. And then I saw the prereqs for that, and I was like, yo, bro,
Yeah.
I can't retain that. My mind does not work that way. So I just took gen eds, but what ended up happening, and this is the segue into the military side, is I had a lack of credits. And my guidance counselor, you know, who sees a million students a day, probably, you know, didn't even remember my name, just like, hey, like you've got a lack of credits, what do you like? I was like, well, I like working out. And they're like, well, you're already topped off on extracurriculars. You know, how about, you know, this military science, these classes? So essentially like ROTC, Army ROTC. Well, that's the one I picked because I wasn't going to go Air Force. Because heck, even back then I was like, nope, sorry, not happening. You know, we'll bag on Air Force occasionally, but hey, if you fly, especially if you fly the A-10, if you're a JTAC, or if you work on said airplanes or aircraft, you have my respect, like pretty much right out of the gate. Everyone else, I'll just have to get to know you.
Yeah.
But so I went Army RTC. I showed up. I PT'd with them. Like I didn't know PT was like mandatory, and I was already working out on my own or running on my own. And I'll tell you what, running up, like living almost at sea level in Virginia, then going to Utah up in the mountains at that high altitude, trying to
kick
run.
your ass.
Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do a 3 mile run. One, it's super hilly there. Like there's like, and the school was on a hill. So like you felt good like leaving and then going into town, it was kind of flat, but then on your way back up, you're like, I'm about to die. I really am. But didn't know it was mandatory. Had my squad leader call me up and be like, yo, where you been at? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so long short, I ended up showing up. Showed up a couple times, and again, this is Army RTC. Wasn't super hitting. I was like, oh, I'm still hitting my workout later. Don't worry about it. But what I noticed was, and the classes were cool. They were okay, you know, whatever. But what I noticed was that there was a smaller group of people that occasionally they would come into the rec center and they would be carrying like logs, or they would be like, they were in full battle rattle fatigues and just kind of like they'd come in, blitz a workout right there on the rec, you know, basketball courts, and then they'd go back out running, and they were already like huffing and puffing, drenched in sweat. And so I was like, yo, who's that? And somebody was like, oh, that's the Ranger Challenge group. Like they just think they're hot stuff. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, it looks like they're getting after it. Like, and so I was like, all right. And so I found out through the RTC, like where to meet, you know, contacts. And so I just randomly showed up one Monday. It's like, hey, I'm ready to, you know, whatever you guys are doing. And this was like, so normal PT guys would get up at like 6 or 7. These Ranger dudes were getting up at like 4:30. Or Ranger Challenge group. They weren't Rangers, but they were part of, so Ranger Challenge is the varsity sport of Army ROTC. You pretty much train, at least we trained for about 4 months straight, every day of the week except Sunday, and you trained for one competition. And you would compete against other schools. So we competed against pretty much every school in the West, kind of like the northern western area. And I'll tell you what, first time I showed up, that was a bad day to show up. Because every time we'd show up and we would just do max push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and like something else. And that was our warm-up. Just max it out. And then that day, the first day I showed up, they're like, all right, going for an 8-mile run. And I was like, motherfucker, what? We're going on what? And it wasn't, it was just PT gear, just going on a run. And so I kind of paced with some big, tall, gangly dude that didn't last. But like for every one of his strides, it was like 3 of mine. But we finished it. And through that, long story short, I met just some of the best, most hardcore dudes I'd ever met in my life. And I'm the oldest boy. I'm the oldest of three boys in my family, and so I've always been the go-to. I was always the one relied on. I never had really an example to follow. I just had to kind of piece things together from other people I grew up knowing. But all the guys in the Ranger Challenge group, especially the competition team, were a good 2 to 3 years older than I was. And they'd already been in the program. I think they're in their junior year, so they were all getting ready to go through either the first or second part of their OCS package, at least a handful of them. And they just took me in. They saw that I worked hard, I shut up, I moved fast, I just did what I was told. I put out a lot more than some of those guys did, or up to their point. And so they put me on the competition team to go and try to win this thing at the competition in Colorado that year, which was a pure blizzard. When it freaking happened, we showed up and it was like a beautiful day one, and then overnight it was just like boom, blizzard. We ended up taking 3rd overall against like 40 or 60 teams that showed up. That's freaking wild. The only reason we placed lower is we didn't score as well on like the written test at the beginning, but then we found out that like our host school that we normally get a bunch of our materials out of, they didn't send us the study guide.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
So we were literally on the van going up there like studying all these like field manuals, and I'm looking at these like as like an 18-year-old, like I have no idea what language this is in. I'm just gonna read it. I'm just turning pages. And
is this in Russian? What is this?
We all becoming spies? No. So again, long story short, the NCO that also led that guy that had done active duty and then was kind of finishing out, trying to rank up and get his degree. His name was Sergeant Robert Roberts.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, if you made fun of that, you were going to get smoked and die. You were going to die.
Whitest white guy ever.
Yeah. But he was hardcore, dude. This is a guy that had been a scout sniper in the Marine Corps for, I want to say, anywhere between 6 to 8 years. Got broke off doing that pretty much. The Marine Corps said, hey, you're too broken, we don't want to keep you, which, go figure, they're going to get rid of their good NCOs. Then he went over to the Army and essentially did the same thing, but they gave him a Cav Scout team. And he got to train snipers doing there too. And so he spent another 10 or so years doing that from what he told us. And then he was over in the ROTC to just kind of finish out the last 2 years of his 20-year contract or whatever. This dude pushed me like, I was already pushing myself, but he pushed me to like new limits. And it was great to have him share like both sides of like the Marine Corps and the Army side, like the good and bad of both. And he would sit me and my best buddy John Larson down. He graduated. He flies helicopters and rescue choppers now for the Army. John, shout out to you, man. Best, biggest older brother example I could have ever asked for in my life. Like, he bulldogged the crap out of me, but he took care of me too and put me on a good path. So yeah, that was 2009 is when I went to school there. So 09 to 10. Then I got, luckily because of their example, I got a lot of my own personal life straightened out, because I was, we're going to try to keep this PG on this podcast as much as possible, but to keep it frank, I was kind of a little shithead. Like, I was definitely, I just wasn't centered. I didn't have a purpose. Like, those guys definitely showed me a good example, but I wasn't really locked on to like any one thing. There's a lot of chaos in my own personal life, a lot of things that I was personally struggling with. And so after that year, during that year, I got my life straightened out, and luckily I had a really good girlfriend at the time too, and we're still friends. Shout out to her and her example to me, and making sure I wasn't too much of an idiot too. But I ended up serving a 2-year missionary trip for my church. So I got sent down to southern Arizona. So I did that for 2 years straight. It was the best experience for me because I wasn't really a talky person, a social person at all. I definitely grew into it being away from home. But doing something like that where the focus wasn't on me anymore. Like it was helping the community or doing service projects or just sharing a message. And I wasn't one that was super pushy about it. You know, yeah, I did some door knocking, but you know, I was just there to share a message. I was just there to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if somebody was interested, cool, we'd share, you know, stuff or material with them. And, you know, if somebody wasn't interested, you know, it just, you know, just wasn't the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whatever. And that's what it is. But what was great is I just got to think outside of me. I was 19 years old. So what, I mean, my perspective is like, what other 19 to 21 year old is out here doing something like this, you know, full dedication, you know. That's also the same time that your insurance rates for your parents go way through the roof because you know what everyone else is doing. So I did that for 2 years, and I knew going into it, you know, I wanted to serve God first before my country. Not to say I don't serve God still, but like I just wanted to center my life just more in that direction. And but I knew at the end of that, you know, I'm gonna go serve my country for sure. And because of my exposure with Army and ROTC, I figured, I'm gonna go to the Army. So towards the end of those 2 years, I got permission from what we call like our mission president or the guy in charge of the entire area.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hey, is it cool with you that I take my personal time on Mondays? Because Monday was like our prep day for the rest of the week. We do laundry, we do a bunch of other stuff. But he was like, yeah, sure, just make sure it doesn't bleed over. I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. So called up an Army recruiter in the area where my parents were, and I was just like, hey, I'm not there now, but I'm coming back. I'm super fit. Don't worry about it. And I pretty much told him like, hey, I want to be a Ranger. And this dude, no joke, I've told you this story. This dude, no joke, just laughed at me over the phone. not like a chuckle, like, hey, that's a really cool dream, but like, let's be realistic, you know,
just
like
hysterical.
straight up like hysterical, arrogant, just ignorant, like laughed at me. Never seen me, never had talked to me before, and he was like, well, let's like, you know, what's another MOS you want? And I was like, well, I'll go infantry, I'll go combat engineer, I'll go military police, you know, maybe some dog handling through that. And this dude just didn't give me the time of day. Just a big turnoff, like right there.
What year was this again? 11.
This was like 2011, actually, beginning of like 2012.
So yeah, that was right around the same time though. Like the Army was like, damn, we brought too many people in during this whole Iraqi war. We need to start kicking people out. And
yeah.
I mean, like my unit, people who never even thought they were on the verge of being close to being kicked out, and then 2 months later they were getting orders, being told to go home over, you know, not scoring high enough on their PT test, or all of a sudden they became overweight, and it was just they were cutting out people quick.
Yeah, and unfortunately you always lose good people during that. Now that I'm no longer ignorant of that process, but so that's what happened to me. You know, and again, that was probably the case, but again, it was a huge turnoff. Well, I had a fellow missionary that he's like, hey, I'm going to go meet with this Marine Corps recruiter, you know, and he was going to do it on more of a, what we would call, I guess, a working day. You know, we didn't get paid to do that. We pretty much funded ourselves to be there for 2 years. But, and so our paychecks would like be our own money coming to us month to month. Mm-hmm. But he was going to do it on a working day because that was the only day that this recruiter could meet him with his schedule. So I was like, hey, I'll go with you, make sure it doesn't bleed over past like whatever time, because we need to get back out there because there's like a service project or something going on. And so I just sat in the hallway and just listened in. But I mean, recruiters are good. Some of them are pretty good, and I could see through some of the smoke and mirrors and stuff. But a lot of the pure tenets and foundations that he was talking about, like instantly just like resonated like very strongly. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And so long story short of that, decided to join the Marine Corps, got the paperwork pretty much started with him. They transferred it over to my home office, I guess, in Virginia. I started going to school at another school at Southern Virginia University, pretty much where it's at, as the name says, down in Buena Vista, Virginia, up in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And surprisingly, for whatever reason, my paperwork took a long time. It wasn't medical related, it wasn't physical related. I mean, I played college lacrosse. I worked out on my own. I ran at least 3 miles 3 times a week. Like, it was none of that. It was just powers to be. The universe said, you're not going yet. It's probably a good thing. I was in a pretty, I'd say, interesting relationship at the time. And we'll probably dive into that sometime at another time. And I'll be honest about it, But ended up that I left for boot camp in 2014. And I've been on that ride ever since, And we'll probably go into some recruiter stuff because you and I have talked about it before, but we'll definitely have an episode on recruiting, or maybe we'll get someone that's done recruiting duty. Actually, the local recruiter here could come and sit on too. I've met him a couple times, but
I got a buddy who could probably zoom in if you wanted to.
Sweet.
He did recruiting for a while. He's actually, me and him signed up together.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I kind of screwed him.
Nice.
Sorry, buddy.
Always someone's getting screwed by the green weenie somehow.
When we first signed up, him and I both signed up for infantry.
Okay.
And we had it set up like we were going to basic together.
Mm-hmm.
I found out later that when he got to basic, because I ended up changing before we ever left, but I found out when he got to basic, my name was on the bunk next to him.
Really?
Still. So I really screwed him.
So because you had cycled through before him?
No, because I changed my MOS, so I went to different basic. I was supposed to go to Benning.
Yeah.
For infantry.
Because you guys have all your bases everywhere that do different things.
The girlfriend I was dating at the time in high school that everyone told me not to be dating.
Hey, at least you had bros, someone out there broing you to help you out. I didn't have that with a certain individual until afterwards. Till it's like posts like, yeah, man, you really glad you did that. And I'm like, why didn't you speak up, bro?
I just didn't listen, young and dumb. But she convinced me that she didn't want me to do that. Made her happy, made me happy. Granted, as much as I act like it was a big deal, now looking back, I'm happy it went the way it did because, one, I met brothers and sisters for life. Granted, I'm sure I would the other way too, but I'm happy with the ones I met. And God knows if I ever would have met my wife.
Yeah.
And the way we met was so, which we can go into on a different time, but the way we met was so perfectly mint. Mm. Like if the slightest thing was different, we would have never met.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we'll definitely do a spouses are awesome kind of thing, and maybe we'll ask each to field questions and then send them to each of us, and we'll Q&A each other. That'd be a cool one. I met my wife. I mean, I know to get back at it, went through boot camp in 14, summer 14. It was literally the hottest record summer at Paris Island in 10 years. And even the drill instructors at the Crucible were like, guys, I hate to say this because I've never said it with anyone else, but y'all made it. I mean, this is before we got our EGAs, and it didn't really hit our our pins to officially say that we were Marines. Mm-hmm. But they're like, y'all made it. He's like, they're like, look, this is balls hot. This is hotter than any any platoon we've run. It's you guys are working through it. So and that was
drink water.
Drink water, but the Crucible, those last 3 days, and I think things have changed, and kids are getting soft, but at least when I went through, and it was probably harder for generations before me, that's 3 days of, just like the first 3 days of boot camp, you're sleep deprived. I think you're maybe only getting 2, maybe 3 hours of sleep a night, if that, unless you're on watch or post, which I was every night.
Busting your ass off the whole time.
The whole, up pretty much up at, whatever time they wanted to revel you out, which is their choice, especially if they wanted water check. All right, 1 a.m., here we are, we're up. And then, you're definitely pounding water the whole time. You've only got 3 MREs for 3 days, and then you've got that long culminating hike at the very end, and then you're standing in formation around the Iwo Jima Memorial, and you get handed your EGA. And, I mean, I'm not a super emotional person. I'll keep it bottled up a lot, but that event, and this is, I think, very specific with the Marine Corps, it's when you earn that title, you carry that for life. It's not just hey, I'm gonna hang up the cape and I'm out. But they always say a Marine's always a Marine. We retire and we get done, but it's you never see retired Marine. It's always Marine veteran kind of thing. And I'll always even if I switch branches, and I've talked we've talked options and things to finish out my 20 years or however long I stay in.
Still Marine first.
Years, yeah, it's I'm still gonna carry that with me. I still have I don't use that EGI I was handed for anything else. That's literally like on my bedside, like on my lamp, like look at it. First thing I wake up, last thing I go to bed. Oh, besides seeing my wife, of course. Shout out to Lexi. She's multiple shout outs to Lexi to putting up with me for the last 6-7 years. Actually, yeah. Proposed to my wife on the graduation drill deck of Paris Island, which is probably like a super boot move, but like, hey, nobody else did it that day.
Yeah,
that was me.
That was their anniversary. That was just like a week or so ago. Cause
yeah.
She just posted that picture.
Yeah. First time I proposed, and or not. I didn't have to propose multiple times, but like yeah.
I did.
Oh well, if we count the ex, yeah. I did.
No, man.
Oh yeah.
I got told no the first time.
Oh man, resilient, hardcore. So yeah, I went in as a combat engineer. I got lucky to go to a division out of Virginia, and I mean, shoot, when I dropped in, man, there was still a huge call for combat engineers, breachers and ID detection and all this other nonsense that goes with being an engineer in the Marine Corps. And so, I thought full intention, I was going to drop into a unit and we were going. I mean, that's how hard instructors were pushing us, and we almost spent more time in the ID detection lanes, or just more time on within that phase, and then that was where it hit me too of the MOS I selected, because these were guys that had done like 3-4 deployments and had been pretty much mine hound detecting for a lot of that or breaching, and they're like, look, dude, you're 1 millisecond away from just pink mist. Like that is the reality.
One wrong step,
one missed wire. Even if you don't see it in time and it's a remote dead, like look, dude, like you've punched your ticket. And I had to have a pretty big like personal come to Jesus moment with that. I mean, I knew I was gonna hit it like a pretty badass like MOS, but like the reality of that MOS is like you are close to some very, very like dangerous material.
Even that bomb suit is just a pacifier.
Oh, I mean, that's
just
more of an EOD thing, but EOD wasn't big, and so EOD used to.
But even then, I had a buddy who was EOD that I met in Bethesda, Maryland, actually, at the hospital there.
Okay.
So I got maneuver locked a couple times overseas. Nothing horrible, but so I got to go to Bethesda just for a bunch of testing. It was like a new thing, and I met him there, and he was EOD. And he's got some pretty wild stories and stuff,
that, man. That would have been cool to do. But yeah, so it was a good initial kind of push into that. Got to a good unit. You get the initial welcome aboard time that any boot gets. And I came in older, so unfortunately I came in a little, I wouldn't say hot-headed, but feeling like I was, feeling my Cheerios.
Yeah.
And
felt your age. Like
definitely
your seniority of age.
Yes, it felt my seniority of age. Let me just tell you, like guys that were younger than me but held either higher rank or billeting, they put me in my place. And you know what?
Kudos to them.
Kudos to them. I thank them. I even thank the dude that was the hardest on me, Dornbush. If you ever listen to this, he's now in Florida doing some sick like JTAC fast stuff. It's really cool, the unit he's with down there. He was literally the hardest on me, but honestly, I thank him for it. Like it pushed me. It pushed me to not fail, to not back down from what they expected from me. Even if he was just being a hard ass to be a hard ass. Yeah. And that was kind of his MO. But the thing is, like, what I eventually found out about him is, we would get a lot of guys to the unit, and they would just phase out within 8 months to a year. And we quickly, at least my platoon, we took pride in, how many guys can we attrition? Because the way we operated, especially within our teams, like the company as a whole was kind of like a crap show. Like, upper leadership was super toxic, but like your individual team and your squad, that was your family. Those were your boys. And we didn't have time to baby someone along, because again, we just thought we were going to get called up. Well, that delusion quickly went away, because when I joined my unit, that's when former President Obama was drawing back hard. Mm-hmm. That's when he was really trying to pull back rotations and everything. So we just stopped getting the call up, and pretty much our upper leadership, even at battalion or division, was like, yeah, you guys aren't going anywhere. And so it's like, oh man, that's really great for motivation. So I was there for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years. Picked up corporal there, and then work. Just due to the recession and everything going on, or at least how it was affecting my town that we lived in, work completely dried up. There was just nothing there for me, and I guess I could have looked more local, but I was just sick of the area. I was sick of. We're going to do a podcast probably too on failures, or I wouldn't say missed opportunities, but opportunities that maybe also were taken away from us, and kind of how to put those in perspective. There's a lot of things that I tried to do personally to further my career, do other things that they blew up in my face. And so I was just kind of sick of trying in that area, and so I was offered an opportunity out here in Missouri. And my wife is from here as well. She's from just outside Jeff City, and so I transferred units. So I went from being with the Common Engineer unit, and the closest unit that I could get into here was not engineers. And the engineer company that's up north in Illinois that some of my other buddies went to, I was like, hey, like, what do you focus on a lot there? Because especially in the Marine Corps, like every engineer company is set up or geared training wise a little differently. And so they're like, well, we mostly do like construction up here. Like I was like, well, how much do you do like demo? And they're like, well, we hit the training package and we do like at least a demo range once a year. And I was like, hey, I love you guys a lot, not happening. And being a common engineer, we always attach to infantry companies, line companies, and I just loved just being in that high tempo area. And so I got lucky. I got attached to a weapons company down in Springfield, and got put with a CAT section. So that's CAAT, it's like combined anti-armor and tank, or it's like counter anti-armor team. There's different ways to say it, but essentially it's like an Army Cav Scout unit, but we're just set up with more heavy guns and missile systems to take out like armored personnel carriers or tanks, or at least to harass them and do a lot of call for fire.
Like the Marine version of the Stryker unit.
Yeah, pretty much, but we're in up armored Humvees. Like we're not in the Stryker at all. Like we actually don't like the Stryker whatsoever. We don't even like the Humvees. So I was with that unit. I picked up E5, and what I noticed was just a flip of leadership. I went from a unit that was very toxic on the high levels, but very locked on the low levels. But the problem is a lot of micromanagement would come down, and so we couldn't really push for things that we wanted to do to really develop our juniors, or myself as an up-and-coming NCO as much. Well, then I come to this weapons company, and we have a CO that's just small unit leadership focused. He wants the sergeants and corporals,
the best for his people.
Just do your thing, lead your team, pass up your training packages, we'll approve them to make sure they're safe, within our ORMs, but you guys do you. And oh my gosh, like from the get-go, I was like, this unit is hot. Like this is awesome. And so I really enjoyed my time being with this 03 unit, this weapons company, and I had to eventually go back to school to learn the new MOS to be a tow gunner. And now I'm a platoon sergeant with them, and it's just been a good ride. And so far here where we're at, and getting the green weenie, having to extend. When I transferred MOSs, no career planner told me, oh hey, BT Dubs, you do this, we're extending your contract a year. So technically this year 2020 was supposed to be like my year to decide whether I'm getting out or not, and now I have till 2021 to be like, what do I do? But hey, who knows what's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, you take off.
You speaking about the NCO that kind of gave you that motivation, and then also getting to your unit expecting to constantly go.
Yeah.
My AIT training graduation day was Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving actually, in 2008. So
I got married around Thanksgiving.
Me and a buddy I met in AIT, Mick Nicholas, what up? We both here from Missouri. He's from, I want to say Farmington or DeSoto. I'm brain farting on exactly which one. Sorry, buddy, but he's from one of those.
Don't want to geolocate him too much.
Somewhere over south of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Out in the sticks. But anyways, we hooked up and made sure we got the same flight from Fort Jackson to get home, and had our 2 weeks get to stay home and everything. And him and I actually traveled together. Met him in St. Louis, picked him up, and we drove up to Fort Drum to meet us to our duty station. And that was an experience. Long story short, we drove nonstop. Freaking, 19-year-olds. We're dying, like so sleep deprived. So we get to Watertown, which is the town right outside of Fort Drum, and we're like, screw this, we're getting a hotel room.
Oh boy.
So we go to bed. No snow on the ground. December 18th, no snow on the ground.
And Fort Drum's where again?
Upstate New York. I'm talking like basically Canada.
Okay, gotcha.
And we wake up that next morning, I couldn't even find my car. There was so much snow on the ground.
Dude.
But their snow removal up there is on point.
Oh, it's got
Within a couple hours, we were driving on the roads again.
Yeah.
But we get on post, and we finally get to our duty station, or to our unit, 514. Bull, and
What was that?
Bull.
Hey, how do you say "oorah" with a dick in your mouth?
Yeah.
Hey, that's the way to start a bar fight, everybody. You go to a bar with a bunch of army dudes. It's like, hey, how do you say "oorah" with a dick in your mouth?
But pretty sure it's a supply sergeant. First thing she told us was, "Get ready, we're leaving in May."
There you go.
I'm like, leaving in May? I had boots down in Iraq less than 1 year after I graduated high school.
Dang.
So
Yeah.
that was a little bit of a culture shock. But what I wanted to get to with that story is I met my squad leader, Sergeant Lee. Thank you, Sergeant Lee, for everything you did for me. First couple months with him, he was the biggest asshole I've ever met in my life. Could not stand the guy. In a way, really liked him, but at the same time, hated him.
Yeah.
He come knocking on my door, I looked through the peephole and saw it was him. I'm like, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm done. But no, that guy was fantastic. He took care of his guys. He didn't care. But if you screwed up, everybody screwed up. He was that old school mentality.
Gotta be.
But you know what? It brought our squad together.
Yeah.
And if you did stupid crap, he did stupid crap to you.
Dude.
And a really good example of that is when we were in Kuwait. We were, waiting to get to our duty station. We all lived in a giant tent, and I was right next to him. I couldn't find my ID. That's a big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ended up, it just fell out of my bag.
Did yours have the chip on it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's even bigger. Yeah.
It was right underneath my cot. I just didn't find it fast enough.
Rack.
When he found out that I was looking for it, didn't know where it was. I was done. He made me dump my laundry bag out.
Oh, junk on the bunk, man.
No, even worse.
No.
He made me dump my laundry bag out. Then I had to spend the next 24 hours collecting 300 white rocks and 300 black rocks.
What a man. Shout out to Sergeant Lee.
Then once I got them all,
Yes.
I had to line them all out in a battalion formation. And I had to stand there holding them at attention until he came over to relieve me.
This guy got my vote. I don't hear about enough of this in the Army.
Oh, it was grimy.
Bro, I mean, I'm sure it happens, but like, that's like a Marine Corps, like, that would be hands down Marine Corps easy first
The
thing.
thing is, I wasn't even mad I had to do it. Like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. I do stupid shit. I'm going to have stupid shit done to me.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic.
That's so funny, man.
He had us do stuff where, Fort Drum, a lot of snow. We'd be low crawling through the snow because someone mouthed off to him. He's like, everyone get your ass outside.
You see that so much more, and this, again, not knocking other branches, but you see stuff like that happen a lot more in other branches outside of the Marine Corps. Not saying it doesn't happen, not saying I haven't had to deal with such, but like, I don't know what it is in your basic compared to boot camp that like there's not this focus on discipline and then custom and courtesies. Like I'm sure it's directed in other avenues, and again I haven't been through it, and even if I switch branches I never would have to, because the Marine Corps boot camp that's kind of like you're checking the box to like just jump anywhere you want to, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, it's just like I've met a lot of Army soldiers that like even to me clearly having a higher rank than them definitely did not get the same customs and courtesies that is expected within my branch.
Yeah.
And lucky to them that I'm on their post as a guest, that I could tactfully deal with something, but like if it had been on a Marine base, oh yeah, they're getting lit up, like hands down, you know. But
I screwed one of his 3-day weekends up too.
yeah, you're gonna
Him and my platoon sergeant. I didn't hear it go off. I was in my truck. I didn't hear it go off, and of course,
yeah,
Sergeant Major sees that. Oh, dude, I was screwed. Me, first sergeant, squad leader, and platoon sergeant.
Yeah.
On our 3-day weekend, Friday morning.
You're in your
Friday
truck,
afternoon.
like your truck on
Post.
Like your personal or like
Yeah, my
military?
POV.
Oh, your POV. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I was in my POV like, cause I think we were already released for the day, like, cause it was like an early release.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, it was me, my first sergeant, my platoon sergeant, my squad leader.
Yeah, you jacked up.
Friday morning.
Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, at post headquarters, Class A's for up and down. Oh,
that's that old school stuff. Man. It's good.
The first 2 days they gave me so much crap, but by come Sunday we're like bullshitting with each other.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you'll suffer together. That's a great thing too. It's like people think stuff like that. Oh, it's so stupid, or it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you do it? And it's like, here's the thing: you have to uphold a standard. You have to expect that standard to be met and carried out. And the thing is, like, when you go through that as a collective group, you grow together.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Yeah, you're gonna hate each other for probably the first like 24, maybe 48 hours, depending on like how severe the infraction was. But like after that, you're gonna be like, hey, we're cool. Like, we get it.
Yeah, I mean, with Sergeant Lee, him and I still will talk to that guy. He just retired, so congratulations again on that. But I mean, he was invited to my wedding. He wasn't able to make it because he had already had, I think it was his sister's wedding actually the same weekend or something like that. I ain't gonna expect you to come over that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, yeah, I invited him to my wedding because that dude's family to me.
Yeah.
Most of those people that were either in my squad or in my platoon, we came so close. They were family for me.
Yeah.
And that's one of the great things about the service is it's getting that connection with people. And even when you're out, or even when you meet people that's in the service where you're still in but from different areas, like you're able to get that connection because you've been through the same type of crap. You have a better understanding of each other that unfortunately civilians just aren't really they're not gonna understand it. And there's really no way for them to, and it's okay. Like
it's just different.
Yeah. It's a different thing that we went through, and it just is what it is. But I know a lot of people who went through that stuff, and they just could not adapt.
Yeah.
And they got out with a sour ass taste in their mouth. They won't even stay in touch with any of their fellow people.
And not to say this phrase and have it take it negatively in a bad context, but like there's a degree where you've got to drink the Kool-Aid.
You do.
Or you have to. The better way to say it is you have to buy in. You have to believe in what it is, and especially if you're going to serve the country, right? Like again, personally, you may not agree with the policies or the politics or the bureaucracy going on, but what you can and you should believe in is the guy or gal in whatever MOS field this is to your left and your right. You have to really take on, especially like I speak from the Marine Corps, is like you have to believe in yourselves like a Spartan phalanx. Like you have to be there for the dude. You have to raise that shield and cover the dude to your left or your right. It's like because at the end of the day, it's not about that end state of the war. It's not about the end state of where the country or the state as the state of the union sits. Whereas war serves policy. That is the definition of war. It serves the policy of the country, whatever your personal feelings are on that. But the biggest thing is you have to be there for your brother and your sister.
Yeah. And one of the biggest ways to show an example of that is there's one guy in my unit. Granted, he is a good guy, but him and I, we just did not click.
Yeah. We
butt heads left and right. I can't tell you how many times we almost threw down if other people weren't around to stop us. But if we ever would have been in a firefight side by side, I would have had his back no matter what. I would have done whatever it would have taken to keep him safe and alive or whatever. And I'm almost positive I would have gotten the same.
Dude, hell yeah. Dude, it's just, again, it's a mentality that, some people within the civilian world or the private sector, they have. Some do, but a lot just don't, especially in today's climate. There's a lot more entitlement and kind of selfishness going on. Even with, what this country has just gone through, you would think that there'd be a little more unity. I'm not saying you completely agree with everything going on, but at least that there can be some type of a cordial agreement of how to treat each other. Mm-hmm. And that'll be a whole nother podcast there too, just that we could definitely deep dive into. But I was going to bring up pretty much what you just hit on is in the service, at least in the places I've served and the people I've been around or the people I've attached to, it didn't matter the color of your skin, where you came from, the religious creeds you personally followed. At the end of the day, it's you all together. It's unity. It's get the mission done. It's sit down and BS and smoke them if you got them. When you got your downtime. It's pure camaraderie. I mean, you want to talk about the legitimate frats and sororities, like. It's the military, with the right mindset. And, it's too bad that a lot of that, like the Army's prestige comes from more specific units rather than like as a whole. Yeah. People think, Army discipline, and a lot of what they're thinking is like 82nd, 101st, the Rangers, all those regiments and the SF guys. But the thing is, like, there's a lot of more people, and that's compared to the Marine Corps where, you're not looking at the Marine Corps like specific sections. It's like the family as a whole, but the thing is, like, we think of that, and the thing is, like, there's still discipline, there's still good people going on in other units. It's just, unfortunately, that's just the image you all get sometimes, which is too bad, and it's maybe something that, can be fixed later down and just takes good leadership, or maybe killing off all the officers that aren't doing any organization any good. I'm not condoning fratricide, I'm going to say that right now. Not condoning this, but it's the metaphorical theory of, you want to change a culture, you've got to start it from the ground up and from the up down. Mm-hmm. You've got to meet in the middle, and that's why I loved serving with this unit with the previous CO that just left us. Just couldn't have been happier to be with the organization where we're at right now, and my section specifically is definitely set up to just soar, But yeah, man, I think we're over like an hour into this, but.
Yeah, we were thinking 30 minutes.
Yeah, we're thinking 30, 40 minutes. I was like, no, we're rolling. These episodes might end up being like probably an hour average, hour and a half, which is good. It's not a bad, I've seen podcasts that are like, you look at the Jocko podcast or the Joe Rogans.
Oh, hours.
Like, you're talking 2-3 hours, man. I'm not looking to be that, we don't have that much to talk about. I'm not that important, I don't know. I'm not even that important to my wife for 2-3 hours. Maybe our wedding night, I don't know. But, no, we won't. Sorry, Lex. We won't go too far into that one, of course.
We'll add to that one.
Yeah, we'll leave that raw. But anyway, sorry if I was fiddling with the computer. I don't have the power cord, so it keeps, like, blackening the screen. We're still figuring this out. But, welcome to Vets and Barbells. Is that what we're going to go?
Vets and Barbells.
Vets and Barbells is what we're
We
going.
got some logos we're working
on.
Yeah,
we're working through some logos. This will be the first thing. This will probably be edited and put up probably this week. Again, we're not on any set schedule. We're thinking probably an episode every other week. Or if we get rolling, and we're going to feel it out. If you guys like it, comment, subscribe, share this with other people. Again, we're just two freaking jackwagons talking about just our experiences. And, I'd say, comparison levels, there's probably a lot more people that are out there that are veterans that have done a lot more hardcore stuff.
Oh yeah.
And we're not going to sit here and steal any valor or talk up any war stories. We're definitely going to share some fun stories, like that Sergeant Lee one. Man, that's the rocks, man. Yes. I know I messed up one time, and they're like, "Hey, see this big old rock? It's serialized." And they literally put a piece of tape and serialized, and like, this goes in your carget pocket, and you better be ready for when we do EDL. Sure enough, like, one rock, serial, and then I'd have to yell it out and read it, man, but, tough times create tough guys or gals. So, when I say guys or dudes, it's a universal term.
It's
me.
like saying y'all.
Y'all, yeah, it's like saying y'all. Like that's just how I grew up. Dudes, guys, gal, like it's just a universal for everybody. So nobody, pop off on that. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna figure out how to get this going. I hope you all like it, and we're just excited to keep a dialogue going, really. And again, if this doesn't really take off, well, there'll probably be 4 or 5 episodes up somewhere, and they're just gonna stay that way. So we're gonna wash our hands and move on.
And also, I want to quickly throw this out there because I know he's not going to right now, but if you're in the Jefferson City area and you're listening to this, look up Phoenix Fitness on Facebook and Instagram. Look it up. Just saying. You should, if you're looking for something new, check it out. I think you'd enjoy it.
Yeah, like I said, I do in person. I'll do group classes when I get enough interest rolling with that one. I do remote training for a lot of people, a lot of individuals. I've trained a lot of guys to just prep for just daily life or competitions like Kevin's doing, just trying to dabble in the powerlifting world. Also just get him strong as crap. And
24-hour access.
It's 24-hour access, just $35 a month to come into the gym. And I love working with athletes, busy moms. I've got a kids corner over here, in case members want to bring their kids. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty well. A lot of my background, just to touch on that, we'll go into this a little bit more with the fitness world. Is I've been in and out of the fitness industry for about 10 years. I never really took it seriously as far as like getting certified or like taking on like paying clients. I always helped buddies and did a bunch of stuff with other companies. But it's once a lot of opportunities I kept shooting for, just the windows and doors kept closing. And finally, I was just I was really tired, and my body was really tired of just doing manual labor for as long as I did. And I was like, look, I'm strong. I know a lot about this stuff. I'm still learning, of course. And so I finally just got certified. I just said, screw it. I'm going to dive in both feet, like I did with anything else I tried to do. And so I've been officially certified, I think, for over a year now. And I've had this gym since February 1st. And then quarantine happened March 1st. So if we think actual open business-wise, I've been open for maybe like 2.5, 3 months, if that. And so the gym is surviving. I'm not asking for a handout. I'm not bringing that up to say that. I'm just saying I'm not the only business or entrepreneur in this current climate that is just trying to keep our heads above water.
And I'm not getting anything by pushing his name. I push his name because I believe in him and have respect for what he's doing, and I wouldn't believe in him if I didn't want to use him for myself. And I'm not. We're close buddies, and I'm not taking advantage of him. I pay him for his services because I believe in what he's doing.
Yeah, you bet. You are going to pay. You're going to pay as everybody else. But yeah, no, I always love helping people, and I don't mind like if somebody hits me up, like a couple, tips or tricks or like advice, But if someone's looking for like program and real nutrition stuff, I'm like, yeah, but
which is what I'm working on is a legit program. It's
we're going to talk about
change this. Yeah. I'm getting a straight up like.
And we're definitely going to hit one of these podcasts talking about food or nutrition. We might bring a guest on because you, Bub, need to dial us in and especially get your gut health going. But just another last shout out. I know it's taken a while. I should have probably said it at the beginning. I am not sponsored by Axe and Sledge supplements, but I do represent and support that company as a brand ambassador. So if you go on their website and you use my code MBlake, so just capital M and then Blake, my last name BLAKE 10, get you 10% off. And honestly, it's some of the best supplements in the game right now. Super clean, very cost affordable too.
Yeah.
And we'll do another podcast. That'll be like another podcast there about supplements. Just supplements.
For sure.
I definitely have someone in mind that I'm going to bring on that. I'm very what I would call like vanilla when it comes to like my supplement usage. Like I go more, and everybody should. You should really look at dialing in your food and nutritional dense food sources before really messing with supplements. Like for me, just to keep it easy, like I keep some type of a pre-workout or go-go juice on hand. Depending on how I feel, I don't have to use one every day. I definitely do use like a post-workout protein, a whey isolate. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, Axe and Sledge's farm-fed, guys.
On point.
I cannot even better put in words a better whey isolate that I have tried in my years upon years lifting and using, just very specific supplements. It's a whey isolate. It's very clean, low carb, low sugar too.
You don't bloat.
You don't bloat.
It don't just sit in your belly like, oh. I mean, you can pound an entire shaker bottle.
Yeah.
And be fine.
And what's good about that is it sits light, and it's got a patented digestive enzyme in the formula. And so it's like its absorption and digestion of it is just mad wicked fast. Same with their homemade.
Yeah.
I can't remember if the same. I'll have to look at it if the same enzymes in it, but like
their homemade is a meal replacement.
Yeah. So you're getting that one is carb. It is protein. So like the technical serving size is 2 scoops. So you're getting like 44 grams of protein and like 42 grams of carbs, or vice versa.
Ballpark.
Yeah, that's ballpark. But of course, I just do a single scoop if that's all I have in the gym for after a workout. So it's like a mini meal, which is what I should have had after my leg workout today. I'm still sitting depleted. That one again for a meal replacement.
Super light on
the belly.
Yeah.
I can take a 2 scooper in the morning and it's like I did a protein shake. Really.
When I was trying to really pack on the weight there for a while, because if you guys are watching the video, I'm not huge by any means, but go back about 1 year ago. I was about 150 pounds at 6'3". I'm sitting at 210.
Looking like a telephone
Oh,
pole.
it was bad. But when I wanted to pack the weight on, I was using that homemade, and I would do double scoop.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I'd be ready for bed, like nothing but freaking boxers on, and slam that down. Go upstairs, brush teeth, lay down.
Yeah.
And I wasn't bloated. It didn't make my belly full.
Yeah, that was just the biggest meal replacement I found on the market. And before I became a brand ambassador for them, I bought their product. I tried it. I was like, look, if I'm gonna go with this company and you really rep them, I bought a lot of their stuff before I even thought about putting my name forward. So yeah, the farm fed is awesome. It's $42.95 for a 30 serving container.
Whole month.
For a whole month essentially, and that's before discount, so you get another 10% off. Or if they run specials, that's a good one to go with too. But their flavors for that are chocolate milkshake, vanilla milkshake, cookies and cream, cinnamon apple pie, which is my ultimate favorite. I think I bounce between cookies and cream and cinnamon apple pie.
I like cookies and cream a lot.
Oh, that one's solid. I think that might be their number one. And then they have s'mores, a flavor of s'mores. That one is the only one that's not gluten-free because of just a couple of things in there. So, and that one is like, they nailed that flavor though, that profile. Like
they did. It's definitely not my favorite one.
Yeah.
That's what I currently have right now. And I like it. It's way better than some of the ones I've had from other companies. And also, we're not trying to be like, oh, you need to buy their stuff. All we're saying is like, check them out.
Yeah, check them out.
A lot of people haven't heard about them, so you should just check them out.
When we do a supplement podcast episode, I'll definitely bring up, and he can talk about it too, but I'll list out all the stuff I used to try.
Yeah.
Like my history with supplement intake. And again, it's pretty vanilla. Like I've always, like I was getting into before we sidetracked is, I do always kind of kept some type of a pre-workout, post-workout, protein. I've done, I've creatine here and there, and if you're all up in arms about creatine monohydrate, I'll tell you what, it's the most researched supplement on the market. There are so many forums and medical documentation on the benefits and the pro cons of creatine. So if you think you're gonna change my mind on it, just go do your research. So I do creatine here and there depending on what my goals are. Meal replacement is something I've kind of just barely gotten into just because my schedule is so crazy now that I need to keep something on hand. And BCAAs.
Definitely.
Branched chain amino acids or some type of recovery element. Give me a second. You can talk about. I've actually got the container here.
If I had to get rid of everything, I only could get one supplement. I would be sticking with a BCA ECA combo. Which with Action Sledge is the grind, and their flavors are freaking awesome.
They're so unique and they're so wild, but like you definitely got to find. I would say Action Sledge does a really awesome job at pushing the flavor envelope.
Yes.
They're gonna have some standard flavors that you see kind of across the market. Like I was just saying with the proteins, like they've got the chocolate, the vanilla, the cookies and cream. But the s'mores was super unique. The cinnamon apple pie. I was initially worried when I first tried the cinnamon apple pie. A lot of people said it was really good. It came on a little heavy with the
With the
cinnamon,
cinnamon,
but then that apple
smoothness,
like
yeah.
smooths it way in. And you're like, whoa, this is awesome. So yeah, especially with the grind.
The Swamp Beast is probably their most popular.
Yeah, Swamp Beast is what they call it, like an appleberry flavored BCA, and it's got 2.5 grams of essential amino acids. So those things that you can definitely sip on this like you would a normal BCA, like during your workout. But for these, I use these during tournaments and competitions to kind of sip on and get that. So it's got 2.5 grams of EAs, 5 grams of all the essential branch chain amino acids, 30 servings, and then in here as well that I love, and we see this with their sister company,
American
Made Nutrition, which I'm pretty sure my discount also works over there, and I have bought some of their stuff. Is the grind also comes with a hydration and recovery blend.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, when I take this, like say in the middle of the day or like the later afternoon when I'm kind of dragging, this is perfect because it's got a dose of more L-glutamine. It's got the raw coconut water concentrate. It's got betaine. I'm gonna jack these up, but betaine, anhydrous, and then something down there at the bottom that I cannot even try to attempt. And I even took anatomy and kinesiology in college.
And I've noticed using that stuff too, real quickly, that there for a while when I was really trying to pack on the weight, I was using their demo day, which is like a carb, just straight carbs to take while you're working out. It basically is just so it's constantly feeding your muscles.
Yeah, the insulin.
I was able to get up and weight, not like like fat weight, but I was a little bloated around the center. Mm-hmm. But I love drinking the grind while I'm working out.
That's refreshing.
Because it's refreshing, it's tasty, and it's not super sugary. I mean, there's barely any sugar, I think, in it anyways. And just taking that, I noticed within days, like your body would cut from that.
Yeah, there's no sugar in here.
I didn't think that.
A lot of calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium on top of the EAAs, the branch chains, and the hydration recovery.
And they've got a buttload of flavors in that. And the most recent one they just came out with is gummy bears.
Deadlifting gummy bears.
I haven't had it yet because I just ordered it.
Yeah.
Thursday. So hopefully it'll come in this week, and I'm stoked.
So yeah, I was going through another company's BCAs that I had, so I wanted to go through that first before I got the grind. And again, the Swamp Beast, the Apple Bear, I didn't know if I was going to like the appleberry flavor until Kevin gave me a hit. And it's, especially, like anything, supplements taste better in cold water.
Yeah.
But like, this is like, I can either sip on it or I'm chugging that thing because it's so good. So
I like blue.
I love it.
The best.
And again, it's just wild, man. I mean, if you just look at those labels, they take a lot of their product extremely seriously, and they don't skimp on quality.
They take it extremely seriously, but they like to have fun with it.
I tell you what. So we've talked about the Jocko podcast. I'll tell you what. Axe and Sledge has a podcast with Seth Feroci and Bobby. I'm sorry, I'm going to jack this last name up. Dotrich or
Bobby D.
Bobby D. Big Bobby D. Which apparently I guess Shane's the big D swinging, but big Bobby D. He's actually no longer big. I mean, he's dropped a ton of weight. He's now a registered.
Looks big.
He looks
and
big.
a good, healthy big.
Yeah,
just
he's got the perfect upside down isosceles triangle thing going. Like he's now an official Ironman. He did his Ironman and earned that title, and that was a big step for him. And, again, at this point we're rambling, but again, we don't push Axe and Sledge just because we get anything from them. We don't. I mean, I get a slight kickback from people that buy and use my code. Yeah. But the thing is, like, when I buy, I'm not even using my own code. I will buy and support companies that I truly believe in, and their message of just being a hard-working mother effer, just no matter what it is, what your job is, just be a good person, do good for your community, for your family. And that's what we're about. And, we're going to push that, that type of vibe on this podcast. We're not trying to mimic or do anything of the same. We're definitely going to be our own little, like I keep saying, just jackwagons. We're just going to figure something out here. But we hope you all have fun with this. We definitely had fun. We were pretty nervous going into this. And just this morning, we were like, let's freaking go. Yeah. Like, whatever gets said, gets said. So these will probably be pretty raw. And it's pretty fitting that, we're in the gym. The laptop is set up on the dumbbells. The mic is set up on a plyo box, and we're sitting on benches. Yeah. So we're going to talk, personal, family, veteran, military stuff, but we'll also talk fitness,
Yeah, we're
nutrition,
definitely
stuff,
gonna be
you
getting
know,
into
there'll be
fitness
some
side.
balance. We don't know what that balance is going to look like. It's probably, it's going to be weird. But we're going to figure it out. But thank you all so much for listening in if you have, and if you turned us off because we sound like idiots, thank you anyway for at least being honest. So anyway, like, share, tell your coworkers about it, and we're just going to have a good time.
Yeah, don't have too much fun.
Yeah. And I'll be able to edit all this nonsense out.